More and Better Manifestations by Bertha Grierson Cope. We wonder many times why our efforts to manifest the desired good fail to bring forth fruit. After years in the study of truth, we are still often unable to overcome the ill health, the lack, or the inharmony that we know should not be a part of our life as children of all power, all good. Perhaps the real reason for this failure to manifest more fully is that we do not put into actual practice the principles that we've learned. Intellectually, we know enough truth to make our life complete with every good, yet we still go on in lack of health, supply, and harmony. Manifestation is the sign that follows the inner spiritual light, but such a sign does not become a part of our experience as long as truth is merely theory. Early in our study of truth, we should begin to apply our knowledge as we gain it. A child does not wait until he's learned all the rules and principles of arithmetic before he begins to work. He is busy from the first, applying each step as he goes along. He must learn and demonstrate the work of each principle before he can understand the next one. So, if we would attain more spiritual power, we must use each day of the degree of understanding that is ours at the particular stage of our unfoldment. Then we have the truth student who, after years of study, finds himself dissatisfied with his growth, unable to solve his own problems, and who must depend upon others to demonstrate for him. A child would never learn to walk if he were forever helped. He must do the actual taking of those steps himself if he is ever to gain the confidence and the strength to walk. The leader in whatever field has become a leader only because he has faithfully used the principles he's learned. His one talent of knowledge, when exercised, becomes two, and the increase continues as he faithfully uses such increase as it comes to him. Again, we often find this variation in demonstrating, in manifesting. We manifest a much desired condition, then we experience a long period of standing still or of partial manifestations. We use the truth just as before, but it fails. We wonder. Then we begin to doubt, and later to fear, that truth is not what we thought it was. So doubt, fear, and in the case of many actual unbelief may follow. The reason that we fail to follow the first big manifestation with other and still greater ones is that after that first manifestation, we rest on our oars. We become lazy. Of course, we still go on with our reading, with the silence, but we have accepted the belief that somehow this is as far as we need to go. Our daily life becomes spiritually stagnant. We cease to keep the channel open. By failure to give out, to put into daily practice the knowledge that we have, the channel becomes closed to the new inflow of power. The one talent, or the two, or even the 5 talents thus fail to increase, and failing to increase, they are taken from us. Manifestation is often delayed or hindered because of our feeling that it should be manifested within a certain time. But manifestation is not a question of time. It is altogether the law and the right use of the law. Again, it is sometimes delayed because of our dependence upon another person. Although there are times when we need a clearer spiritual understanding than our own, it is only when the demonstration is made through our own understanding and use of God's power that the real development of the soul is made possible. A point to remember in demonstrating or manifesting is that the soul must grow in strength and fullness as well as the body and the conditions. Many times, a manifestation of physical healing may fail to appear, but because of our physical need, we turn to spiritual help. And because we seek the spirit, our soul development is manifested. I know a woman who, at the height of her career as an artist, was stricken blind. For months, she was rebellious and bitter, shutting herself away from the world and her friends. Then, in the hope of finding her sight, she turned to truth. Several years passed, but the physical sight did not come to her. During those years, however, a great change came over her. Her soul became awakened, and her spiritual sight came to her. As this spiritual sight grew brighter, Her soul expanded, and the life that she had lived for self became a beacon of light to other struggling souls. She said to me with a smile, "In the words of the old hymn, I can say, 'Once I was blind, but now I can see.' That is the way I feel. The spiritual light was obscured by the physical. Now, after all these years, I can say with truth that I am glad." The sequel to this woman's story was not written until after nearly 10 years of outer darkness. Then the so-called miracle happened that so often happens when self becomes submerged in the universal. So completely did the inner light of spirit enfold and flood her being that it dissolved the physical darkness and the outer light came back. Through years of living the truth and applying the teaching of the Christ, quote, "He that loseth his life for my sake shall find it," unquote, she made the full manifestation. Would she have found the outer light if she had not first found the inner light? Would she have found her greater self until she had lost her lesser self? True, many do find healing without finding the Christ in them, but the lesson that should have been learned from that experience must sometime be learned in some way, the giving up of the part for the whole. So, in our work to bring forth manifestations, we should realize that the demonstration itself, the manifestation, is not the main thing. When we find our attention fixed upon outer results alone, we dim the light that brings unfailing results. As a result, we sometimes manifest and sometimes we do not. In keeping results uppermost in mind, we fail in the more essential objective, the growth of the spiritual. And only as we grow in spiritual understanding are we able to do the things that Jesus commanded us to do. One of the greatest obstacles in manifesting supply is the belief still in the minds of many truth students that Jesus was poor and that poverty is a Christian virtue. They feel that they must not desire more money than is actually necessary, that if they do, such a desire will detract them from their spiritual consciousness. So they go on studying truth, but living in varying degrees of lack, accepting truth, but applying it in certain directions only. But the law of life, that is, God in action, can be applied in every direction, to every condition, for every phase of experience is included in God and as such must come under law. When we affirm with certainty, "God is my abounding health and harmony," we can affirm with equal certainty, "God is my immediate and abundant supply." There is only one principle, and since it works for healing, it must also work for changeless supply. When we realize that supply is just as much a part of God's kingdom as health or harmony, and then definitely set about applying the law in that direction, our financial problems will be solved. The story in Second Kings of the widow who appealed to Elisha for help shows this truth clearly. She had only one pot of oil in the house, but she was told to borrow from her neighbors all the empty vessels she could get, then to shut herself and her sons, and to take her small pot of oil and pour it into all the empty vessels. She did, and the vessels were all filled. Life is doing this for us today. It's always pouring into our life the good when we definitely and believingly prepare our vessel for it. If we set our vessels for health only, we will get health only. But when we set many vessels, some for health, some for supply, some for harmony and love, the different kinds of good will flow into them. Being double-minded is one great cause of failure to demonstrate. When the thought fluctuates between disease and health, poverty and abundance, the mind cannot reach a solid conviction, and there can be no expression or manifestation before a solid conviction is reached and held in mind. Let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think he shall receive anything of the Lord. A case that proves the truth that manifestation will not come when there is this divided mind is that of a woman I knew for many years. She was exceedingly spiritual in her life and service. For many years, she was confined to her bed, but she never complained, feeling that it was God's will for her to suffer. Finally, a friend persuaded her to take up truth and to call in a truth teacher to help her. Within a few weeks, she was completely free of the trouble that she had experienced for so many years. Then one day, a church friend said to her, "If your recovery has come through God's healing, why were your prayers not answered long ago?" The woman replied, "Before truth came into my life, I believed that God sent sickness and trouble, that because of his love for me, I must suffer. But truth has taught me that God does not send sickness or sorrow, that only the good can come from him, for he is only good. Health was always mine, only I did not know it and did not accept it. Truth has shown me how wrong my thinking was and how wrong my understanding of God brought on this inharmony. So I myself was responsible for those years of suffering. Now I know the truth, and I am free." Although many marvelous demonstrations are taking place, there are many failures and long delayed manifestations. More and better manifestations should be the rule, but these will not come until we truth followers believe with conviction, without wavering, without fearing, without doubting, without a mind divided. The Spirit of God is in us as it was in Jesus. We have innately the power to do the works that he did, but this power can only manifest itself to the extent that we are conscious of it and use it. More and better manifestations. These will come when we include the fullness of all good things in our life. Every phase of our existence may and should manifest the power, the abundance, and the harmony that belong to us as children of God. But before we can experience these in our life, we must know this truth and think it steadily, unwaveringly, persistently, until we establish the attitude of faith in our unchanging world. Let us know the truth, live the truth, and manifest the truth. This concludes a reading of More and Better Manifestations by Bertha Grierson Cope. If you received value from this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more audio video books. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for your support. I am sending you oceans of love and peace, and I wish you success in all your life missions and purposes. See you soon.